Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and I help people navigate through their spiritual awakening process. And today I'm going to talk about the 3 or so days prior to any full or new moon or any astrological alignment. Because oftentimes, as you guys know, you can probably feel the moon energy well before the moon itself occurs. And in being able to discern when this moon energy has sort of come on board, it can help you really grow and expand and advance yourself very rapidly during these little moon gateways. But that's somewhat of a challenge because the moon energy, when it hits you, it tends to feel initially as like an unwanted guest. It's a bit unnerving, and it's a bit of a contrast because after the moon goes away, the energy kind of settles down, you know? So say the last moon was 10, 11 days ago, and you're finally kind of getting your groove back. You feel like you're able to kind of keep pace with your awakening. You're still growing. Unexpected things are happening here and there. But, you feel as grounded as one can during their awakening, and then bam! Everything sort of changes, and this moon energy is like just starts to kind of take hold. And again, it's very common to like hold on to how things were and resist how things are presently. But if you can learn to, again, discern when the moon energy comes forth and then immediately shift gears, you can deal with a lot of this stuff before the moon ever comes. And when that moon finally comes, you can experience it in a far more accomplished and blissful way. And it won't be so, it won't just feel so miserable, basically. Okay, so right now I'm going to break down 5 different signs that'll help you indicate when this moon energy has sort of come on board. The first one, and this is sort of just my own subjective experience, but I do suspect a lot of you will relate to it. The first one is I can notice it visually. It's almost like life seems more like an actual projection. Like I can read the energy of situations more clearly. For an example, a practical way of looking at it is like, not to be not to generalize too much, but say like egoic, more like lower vibration type of people, they seem much more obnoxiously lower vibration, negative, and just kind of like have a dreary aura about them. And then at the same time, things that are positive take on more of like a luminous light, and they're more like catching. Number 2 is emotionally, I feel much more hot, much more like all my emotions are on the surface. They're much more easily like, it's hard to like not feel emotional when this happens. You just feel like, okay, like something goes wrong. You may or may not be able to maintain control. It's just, again, you're kind of on edge. Your emotions are less at the core and more on the surface, more present, more easily triggered. Number 3, and this is probably the one that you all notice right off the bat, is life speeds up. Things start happening in your reality moment bubble at a faster rate. Good and bad, positive and negative. Just more content is in your momentary little frame of existence to deal with. And the combination of this perceptual change and your emotions running kind of wild, that's when people tend to feel and allow themselves to be overwhelmed, because it's a big change. And again, you were kind of smooth sailing for a minute there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what the hell is going on now? What is this? As a consequence, number 4, the consequence of all these things I mentioned, you might feel takes more willpower to maintain any semblance of like inner and outer stability. It's harder to maintain your cool. Sometimes someone might say something to you that normally you'd bite your tongue, you just can't help but fire back, and you're like, oh man, you go home and you're like, why did I do that? I regret what I said. It didn't really need to be said. It was just me venting my own anger, but you couldn't help it, man. At the same time, you come home from work and the house is a bit of a mess. And for me, one of the things that can be annoying is I have a puppy and you see like she peed on the floor or something. It's like, oh God. Normally it's not a big deal, but in that moon energy, a situation like that can just cause you to freaking lose your mind, because it's in addition to all the other stuff going on, all the other stuff on your plate, then these little annoying occurrences happen, and it combined with all this stuff I mentioned before, it's just really hard to keep your cool. Number 5, I bet you guys relate to this one too. There's sort of an eerie air of unpredictability. You're by this time you're hip to what's going on. Okay, this freaking moon is a beast of a moon. It's here. It's working things in my life. You know, you have that emotional hotness, all the things going on, and there's the feeling like anything can happen. You know, good or bad. It just, you know, things are happening now. Your life is sort of coming to a head in some way. Your awakening is culminating, little micro culmination, you could say. And there's just that air of like, let's go into try to be in Zen mode, because it just takes some willpower. Okay, so those are the characteristics that'll help you know it's on. The game is on. At this point, what you want to do is, number 1, accept it. Don't hold on to how things were. If you resist this sort of energy, it's just going to mess with your head even more. You just got to accept that whatever you had going on, whatever plans you felt successful in carrying out, put them aside. It's time to become a little inner investigator. All of this is happening. The sensitivity of your emotions is a good thing. It helps you become aware of the emotions you're harboring. The faster rate of manifestation is essentially what's happening. The speeding up of your life is a good thing. You're attracting situations that you can use to self-investigate. Things that perhaps without the moon energy, things just sort of move slower, but now, boom, boom, you attract more frequent physical representations of your inner issues. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes you quickly manifest some sort of positive thing you've been working for, and it's, oh, good, thank God. Other times it's something you've been ignoring or had no idea was even there in the first place. It's just there in your reality bubble to deal with. But again, at this time, it's time to start using, as best you can, all the data that's being thrown at you. And if you can start doing this right off the bat, rather than resisting this energy for so long, but again, you can, I wouldn't say it's ever like extremely enjoyable in doing this like self-investigation, but it is incredibly liberating and rewarding when you make connections. And you'll be able to make a lot of connections during any moon, because again, the emotional sensitivity combined with the manifestation of the representations of your issues gives you greater, a better vantage point to examine yourself and say, why do I feel this way? And why is this happening in my reality? There's nothing ever random happening to you. You are attracting it into your reality. And the moon energy will give you better insight as to why that is. And in discovering the why, if you don't like what you're seeing, what you're feeling, you can eliminate it forever. It's an opportunity to truly release issues that would have just continually plagued your life until the day you die. You now, even though it's a bit annoying, get an opportunity to transcend that forever. And if you can use every moon, every 2 weeks, you go through this little inner investigation and plucking out of all this baggage, you will become lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter very, very, very quickly. And the more integrated you become, the more in unison with your true self you become, which is exactly what this moon energy is doing for you, even though, again, it's a little bit chaotic, the faster you can live an ecstatic, amazing, badass life. A life where you wake up, oh my God, I'm awake, thank God, it's another day, let's get going, I have all this fun stuff to do. Where you wake up genuinely excited to be alive and what you have planned for that day. That's possible. That's in every single one of your cards. Even though it might not seem that way now, for a long time, that I would have smacked somebody who said that to me because of how I was feeling, what was going on in my life. But once I started to take responsibility for every moment of my life and shift whatever I didn't care for in the way I just described by discovering the source of manifestations that displease you, that is when I started to have that feeling where I wake up excited to be alive. Not wanting to leave, not wanting to be done with. Accepting everything that comes in my path, good and bad. Because I work with the bad and I make a good out of it. And the good is just good. The more you do that, the more good stuff comes anyway. So that's it, guys. I hope this video was helpful to you. Again, I made this because for several years, 5, 6, 7, 8, until, I don't know, a year or two ago, maybe even more recent than that, I would just become a basket case every single moon. I would dread them, I would suffer through them, and I would just not take advantage of the opportunities that they presented. But now I do. And even if I have a tough moon, a challenging moon, I go through them with this mindset that I just shared with you, with the mindset of, okay, put stuff aside, put things on hold. Now it's time to learn and grow and evolve and examine myself, because now I have a better opportunity to do that, and I can see myself with more clarity, and I'm going to take full advantage of this little window, and I'll get back to what I was doing later. And you can do that too. And it will accelerate your awakening, it'll smooth it out, and it'll help you get to where you really want to go much faster. And it'll take the edge off the moon, because you'll see it as a positive and a blessing. Okay, I think I said enough, guys. Thank you very much for all the love, the support, the likes, the comments, the shares, the emails, the messages, everything. You guys are awesome. You guys are badasses. I really appreciate every single one of you. And I wish you all well. I'll speak to you in a couple days. Peace.